When we think of silence, most of us mistake it for emptiness. We imagine it as a void, a blank space where nothing is happening. But the truth is, silence is never empty. It's full, it's challenged, it carries weight, and often it's far more powerful than words or constant presence could ever be. When you give silence space to speak, it reveals things words can't. It stirs emotions that non-stop interaction never allows someone to feel. In fact, the very absence of your voice, your attention, or your presence creates a kind of echo inside the other person. That echo is where they start noticing what life feels like without you filling every moment. Think about the times when you've been with someone who constantly fills the air with noise, chatter, or updates. At some point, it all blends together and the words lose impact. But the moment they stop talking, suddenly the quiet feels loud. Silence has that effect. It makes people notice. It creates contrast. And contrast is what gives value. If you're always present, if you're always explaining, chasing, reassuring, and showing up in every little moment, people don't get the chance to notice what it feels like when you're not there. But when you choose to step back, when you allow silence to stretch across the space between you and them, they are forced to confront the reality of your value. That's the magic. Silence doesn't beg, it doesn't push, it doesn't demand. It simply exists, and in that existence, it quietly works on the other person. They begin to replay your words in their mind. They recall the way you made them feel. They notice the gap that your absence leaves. It's in those moments that longing is born. You don't have to convince them of your worth. Silence convinces them for you. Absence creates reflection, and reflection always leads to realization. Most people are terrified of silence because they think it means loss. They think if they stop reaching out, stop filling every gap, the connection will fade. But what they don't realize is that silence is the very thing that allows connection to deepen. It gives the other person space to lean forward instead of being dragged. It lets them make the choice to invest, to move toward you instead of being suffocated by your constant presence. True value is never proven by how loud you can shout it into someone's life. It's proven by what happens when you stop speaking and see what your absence creates. Silence isn't cold. It's not punishment. It's not a weapon. It's a form of respect. It's saying, I don't need to constantly remind you of me because I trust that what I bring speaks for itself. And when someone feels that quiet confidence, they can't ignore it. It lingers in their mind. It makes them aware that your presence was not ordinary, that your energy wasn't just another voice in the crowd. Silence gives your value the spotlight it deserves. So the next time you feel the urge to explain yourself again, to chase, to overextend, try silence. Let it work for you. Let it speak the words you don't need to say. Because silence is never empty. It's the moment when your true value becomes impossible to overlook. When you're always around, always available, always within reach, something strange happens. People stop noticing you. It's not because you're not valuable. It's because the human brain is wired to tune out what it has constant access to. Think about it when a song you love first comes out. You play it over and over because it feels fresh, it feels exciting. But after the 100th play, you barely hear it anymore. It's not that the song lost its beauty, it's that familiarity dulled your sensitivity to it. The same thing happens in relationships, friendships, and even in how others perceive your presence in daily life. Availability without pause can turn your presence into background noise. Absence sharpens attention. When you step back, you disrupt the routine, you create a gap, and in that gap, the other person begins to notice details they never stopped to appreciate before. They notice how the conversation used to flow, how your energy made a difference in their day, how your presence added color they didn't recognize until it wasn't there. It's almost paradoxical. Sometimes the clearest way to be seen is to step out of sight. That little space forces people to stop taking you for granted, because suddenly what was constant isn't guaranteed anymore. Think of a candle burning in a bright room. no one notices it. The light is drowned out by everything else. But take that same candle into the dark, and suddenly its glow feels powerful, beautiful, essential. Your presence works the same way. If you flood someone's world with it non-stop, they get used to it. They might even start assuming it'll always be there. But the moment you pull back, that glow becomes undeniable. It sharpens in their awareness, because now it's contrasted by absence. The mistake so many people make is believing that to be valued. They must constantly remind others of their worth. They send another message, they show up at every opportunity. They repeat themselves until their effort feels heavy. But that kind of overt presence doesn't create value, it dilutes it. By not giving space, you never give someone the chance to miss you, to notice you on their own. Absence is not neglect. It's the art of allowing someone to wake up to your impact without you pointing at it. You can see this play out in simple human behavior. If you eat the same food every day, no matter how delicious it is, you stop appreciating its taste. But the moment you go a while without it, that first bite again feels extraordinary. Your value works in the same way. When you step back, people's senses reset. They rediscover the flavor of your presence. They lean in because now their attention has been sharpened by the contrast between having you and not having you. This doesn't mean you vanish to manipulate. It's not about games. It's about understanding psychology. Attention thrives on scarcity. What is rare commands focus. And when your presence is not assumed but earned, it naturally becomes more meaningful. People start to protect it, to appreciate it, to show up for it. Absence is not distance for the sake of distance. It's a way of keeping your value vivid in the minds of others. So the next time you worry that stepping back will make you forgotten, remember this: stepping back might be the very thing that ensures you're remembered. Silence and absence don't erase you, they highlight you. They sharpen attention in a way that constant availability never could. When you give someone unlimited access to your time, your energy, and your presence, it feels good at first. There's comfort in it, a sense of security, like a warm blanket wrapped around them. But what starts as comfort can quietly turn into complacency. When every message is answered instantly, when every call is picked up no matter the hour, when you're always ready to adjust, always available to fill their needs, something happens. They stop chasing, they stop wondering, and they stop appreciating. Over-availability has a way of softening the edges of attraction until it no longer excites. It simply exists in the background. The truth is, attraction feeds on mystery, and mystery needs space. If you remove all the unknowns, if you leave no room for curiosity, you also remove the spark that makes someone lean forward with interest. Think of it this way: when you walk into a room and a beautiful painting is covered, people are curious. They want to know what's underneath. But if that same painting is always hanging there, fully visible day after day, the curiosity fades, even though its beauty hasn't changed. It's not that the painting is any less remarkable. It's that people have become accustomed to it. Over-availability does the same thing. It strips away curiosity, and without curiosity, attraction loses its fire. Many people confuse constant presence with showing love or proving loyalty. They think if they're always around, always reachable, they're showing their dedication. But what they often don't realize is that their very dedication can cause the other person to relax into a state where effort is no longer required. Attraction thrives in the dance of give and take. It lives in the balance of presence and absence. When one side gives endlessly without pause, the other side stops feeling the need to give back. Over time, the dynamic shifts, and what once felt exciting becomes predictable. Predictability may be safe, but it rarely feels magnetic. The most attractive relationships, the ones that stay alive, are not built on constant closeness, but on balanced rhythms. Presence provides connection, but absence creates longing. Together, they form the cycle that keeps attraction alive. If you're always present, there is no anticipation. If there's no anticipation, there's no craving. People need space to imagine, to wonder, to look forward to the next moment with you. And if you never allow that, you deprive them of the joy of missing you. It's important to understand that pulling back is not rejection. It's not about punishing someone or creating artificial distance. It's about allowing the natural ebb and flow of attraction to do its work. Availability is like pouring water into a glass that's already full. No matter how much you give, there's no space to receive it. But when you step back, when you stop overfilling, you create room for them to feel the desire to reach toward you. That reaching is what makes connection strong. It's not built on you doing all the work, but on them choosing to close the gap too. When you give space, you protect the mystery that makes someone lean forward. You allow curiosity to breathe. You keep attraction alive by reminding them that your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. And when they recognize that, when they realize that having you is not something to take lightly, that's when your value deepens. That's when desire grows stronger instead of weaker. So remember this, being constantly available may feel like the safest choice, but it's not the one that keeps attraction burning. What sustains desire is the balance, showing up with warmth and energy, but also knowing when to step back and let them miss the very presence they once assumed would always be there. Boundaries are one of the most misunderstood parts of human connection. People hear the word and immediately think of walls, distance, or rejection. But real boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about drawing a line that says, I value myself enough not to shrink just to be accepted. When you set boundaries, you aren't punishing anyone. You're teaching them how to treat you. You're silently communicating, my time, my energy, and my presence have worth, and I won't give them to someone who doesn't see that. That message is more powerful than anything you could say with words because it's backed by action. When you never set boundaries, you end up teaching the opposite. You teach people that you can be reached at any hour, that your time isn't really yours, that your attention is always up for grabs. At first, people might even like it. Who wouldn't enjoy someone who bends over backwards for them? But over time, the lack of boundaries erodes respect. What was once sweet begins to feel desperate, and nothing diminishes attraction faster than desperation. Boundaries, on the other hand, create a quiet confidence. They signal self-respect. When someone sees you can say no, that you can pull back when something doesn't feel right, that you won't overextend yourself to chase scraps of attention, they realize you're not afraid of losing them. That's magnetic. It makes them lean in closer because people are drawn to those who don't need them to survive. Boundaries create balance. They stop you from giving too much, and they force the other person to meet you halfway. That's where healthy connection grows. Think about someone who never says no. You might like them at first because they seem agreeable, but eventually you start doubting whether they even have a backbone. You wonder, do they really want this? Or are they just saying yes to keep me happy? Over time, that uncertainty kills respect. Contrast that with someone who's not afraid to say, no, I don't accept that, or that doesn't work for me. Instantly, their words carry weight. You take them more seriously, and you naturally value their yes more because you know it's genuine. Boundaries give your words and your presence gravity. It's also important to see that boundaries aren't cold. They're actually an act of love for yourself, but also for the connection. Because without them, relationships drown in imbalance. One person gives endlessly, the other takes endlessly, and soon resentment replaces attraction. By setting boundaries, you protect both sides from slipping into that trap. You create a dynamic where giving and receiving remain equal, where both people know the value of what's being exchanged. Silence and absence often come from boundaries. When someone crosses a line or takes you for granted, you don't need to yell or beg them to change. Your silence says enough. Your step back speaks louder than 1,000 explanations. That's not manipulation, it's clarity. It's showing with your actions that you won't stay where your worth isn't recognized. And that quiet strength is unforgettable. So the next time you feel guilty about saying no, or you worry that pulling back makes you seem distant, remember this: boundaries are not a barrier to connection, they're the foundation of real respect. When you value yourself enough to draw them, others will rise to meet you, or they'll drift away. Either way, you win, because you never lose by respecting your own worth. When you pull back, when you stop talking so much, when you allow the silence to hang in the air, something very revealing happens. People show you who they really are. Words can be deceiving, promises can be easy, but actions in the face of your absence tell the truth. When you're always present, it's hard to see what's genuine because you're carrying the connection on your shoulders. You're always initiating, always filling the silence, always smoothing the rough edges. But the moment you step back, the moment you stop doing all the heavy lifting, the mask slips. You see who reaches out, who makes the effort, and who simply disappears when you're not constantly reminding them you exist. Silence has a way of cutting through illusions. It doesn't force anyone, it doesn't demand anything, it simply creates space. And in that space, the truth surfaces. If someone cares, you'll see it in their actions. They'll check in. They'll wonder where you are. They'll feel the pull of your absence and respond to it. But if they don't, if the silence doesn't move them, that tells you everything you need to know. You don't have to beg for clarity. Silence gives it to you. It's often tempting to chase that clarity with words, to ask, do you care about me? Are you invested? Do you want this? But those questions rarely bring honest answers. People say what they think you want to hear or what they want to believe in the moment. Actions, though, don't lie. If someone feels your silence and chooses to step forward, that's real. If they don't, that's real too. It may sting, but at least it saves you from wasting energy on someone who wouldn't have shown up no matter how loud you shouted. Think about how many people stay in situations where they are constantly giving but rarely receiving. They convince themselves that the other person does care deep down, even if they don't show it. They rationalize, they excuse, they hope. But if you really want the truth, stop filling in the blanks for them. Let the silence reveal it. Let the absence make the choice clear. Because if someone truly values you, they won't let the silence stretch on without reaching out. They won't allow your absence to go unnoticed. Their actions will break the quiet. What makes this powerful is that it shifts control back to you. Instead of trying to drag the truth out of someone, you allow it to reveal itself naturally. And in that revelation, you gain freedom. You stop investing in illusions. You stop wasting your time on people who only take without giving. You start trusting silence as your filter. The ones who care will show up. The ones who don't will drift, and both outcomes serve you, because either way, you find the truth you need. Silence isn't cold, it's clarity. It's not about punishing anyone or playing games. It's about creating the conditions where people's real intentions are visible. If they care, they'll prove it. If they don't, their inaction will say it louder than any excuse. And you'll be left with certainty instead of confusion. So the next time you wonder where you stand with someone, resist the urge to explain, to overextend, to demand answers. Instead, try silence. Step back. See what happens in the space you leave behind. Because the beauty of silence is that it doesn't just create desire, it reveals truth. And knowing the truth, even when it's hard, is always better than living in the dark. Desire isn't built in the moments when you're constantly present. It's built in the moments when you're not there, when the other person feels the gap you leave behind. Absence has a way of awakening the mind and stirring emotions that presence alone can't create. When someone doesn't have unlimited access to you, they begin to notice what it means to have you. They think about your laugh, your energy, the way you make them feel. That reflection creates desire. It's not about disappearing forever, but about giving just enough space for longing to grow. Without absence, there's no opportunity for someone to miss you. And without missing you, desire never has the chance to deepen. But here's where balance matters. Absence on its own is not enough. You can't build connection on distance alone. Desire may be born in your absence, but it is sustained in your presence. When you return, when you show up with energy, kindness, and authenticity, you give that desire a place to land. You remind them why they missed you in the first place. It's the rhythm of pulling back and stepping forward that keeps attraction alive. Too much absence, and you risk fading from their world. Too much presence, and you risk becoming invisible through overexposure. The art lies in finding the balance. Think of fire. If you smother it with too much wood all at once, you kill the flame. If you starve it of oxygen completely, it burns out. But if you feed it in measured doses, allowing both air and fuel, it grows stronger. Relationships are the same. Presence is the fuel, absence is the air. Together, they keep the fire burning. Without one, the other loses its power. What makes this balance powerful is that it transforms your presence into something meaningful. If you're always there, showing up without pause, people stop feeling the weight of it. It becomes expected. But if you allow space, just enough for them to feel the ache of missing you, then when you do show up, it feels like a gift. Your presence is experienced with gratitude instead of entitlement. That shift changes everything. Instead of you chasing to be noticed, they lean in to savor the moments you give. It's also important to see that absence doesn't just build desire in others, it strengthens you too. When you step back, you give yourself room to grow, to reflect, to recharge. You return with more to give, with more energy, with more clarity. That in itself makes your presence more valuable, because people aren't drawn to someone who is drained and overextended. They're drawn to someone who has a sense of wholeness, someone who radiates from having taken time to themselves. Absence is not just for them, it's for you. When you master this rhythm, you stop fearing silence. You stop clinging to constant presence as the only way to matter. Instead, you begin to trust the natural pull of desire. You understand that stepping back doesn't make you forgotten. It makes you remembered. And stepping forward doesn't make you needy, it makes you magnetic. Absence builds desire, presence sustains it. Both are necessary, both are powerful, and when you learn to balance the two, you become unforgettable. So don't be afraid to let silence speak. Don't be afraid to step back and give someone the chance to feel your absence. And don't be afraid to return with presence that lights up the space you've left. That is how value is built, how desire is nurtured, and how connections grow stronger instead of fading away.